terms of the money that they have.
Yes.
So let's start with the most important news of the day. NEOM CEO Nadmi Al Nasr has stepped down as the mega project enters a phase of implementation, I would say. Because now their first ever physical location, Sindala, has opened. It's not open to general public, but it has opened. They called a select list of guests. They went there. They saw all the things that are there for offering. So that happened, but still, he stepped down abruptly. The headlines, mostly the West headlines who are always negative about NEOM, to be honest. They don't believe in the project and they're like, oh, it's too unrealistic. The headlines were like, oh, he left abruptly or this and that. But then NEOM, they published a statement. The statement is very clear that he didn't leave. It's just the board of directors. They've announced a leadership change and they've put someone named Ayman Al Mudaifir as the new CEO, and he'll be the acting CEO. Maybe they'll make him the permanent CEO. Or maybe they'll find someone new.
And we just to give the people a little bit more context, if you don't know already, NEOM, it's an area in Saudi Arabia. And the NEOM project in itself, it has many areas. Like, for example, Sindala, as Majid mentioned, there's also Magna, there's The Line, and there's Trojena. So
and Oxagon.
Yeah,
so 5 total regions.
Yes.
Every region will have its own USP, a unique selling point. And it's good that the first region out of the 5, it's like 20% success rate for the NEOM project right now. What we saw in Sindala, what the videos and everything that we saw for Sindala looks great. There's a very big international level golf course. There's a yacht marina. So that's good for a lot of people who love yachts, luxury yachts.
Of course.
So Sindala is mostly a luxurious place where you will go for luxury experience. And it's not like you'll get budget hotels there. Marriott was the first one to open. There's 4 or 5 all in the list that are going to open soon. It'll open for normal public soon as well. So yeah, it's a very luxury experience that you can get there.
It is, and their CEO who has stepped down is called Nadmi Al Nasr, and what essentially may have occurred is that because of the fact that there are several schemes within the NEOM project, they may have struggled with high costs, project delays, and tight delivery timelines. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be successful. It will be successful. Behind every successful projects, there's always setbacks. But what this is perhaps linked to is what is going on with crude oil in Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia, they had a goal to set oil prices at $100 per barrel. But what has occurred is because of the fact that there are other oil suppliers who are supplying it for lower prices, they have had to set it below their target of $100. And what that has done is it has resulted in perhaps budget constraints with a lot of the projects that are currently being built in Saudi Arabia, according to the Financial Times.
We saw that the OPEC countries, OPEC plus countries, OPEC plus, they have a lower output for the next year. So the problem is that a lot of people, we've seen the wave of sustainability throughout the world. Everyone wants to move away from oil, and even though it's like still the major player in energy, oil and gas, they still want to move away from it. Because of that, there's a shortage in demand. People don't want oil. They don't want oil, or they want it for a cheaper price, because now the demand is lower, so they can dictate the price. So the oil producers, they can't. But apart from OPEC output being lowered for 2025, Saudi Arabia recently at FII, I remember we did a story on that also, that they want to increase their oil output, and they nearly or like approximately they want to go against OPEC targets. We also talked about, I remember like 1 week ago, we were talking about some Saudi story, and I read on a very long Bloomberg report on the NEOM project, I told you. So the NEOM project is supposedly a $1.5 trillion project which will need this amount of money. And the number I remember, which I've said like 3 or 4 times before as well, they need to sustain oil at $96 per barrel. At that price, Saudi Arabia will be able to complete the NEOM project, the $1.5 trillion project. But right now, if we see the price is fluctuating anything between 75, 80, 85, it's fluctuating. There's obviously a lot of other players, other things that play a role in it. Middle Eastern tensions, Israel doing every bad thing possible on the planet to other countries. They're invading Lebanon, they're attacking Iran. They've carried out a genocide in Gaza for nearly a year, more than a year now actually, since October 7 last year. So because of that also, the oil is fluctuating up and down. All these factors, the main idea is that Saudi Arabia needs the oil to be expensive at $96 per barrel. That's an estimate. So if it's that, then they can make enough money from oil to move away from oil. NEOM is their biggest project to move away from oil. It's a travel, luxury, tourism. It combines a lot of things. We also talked about Qiddiya. Qiddiya is another city. It's not part of the NEOM project. Sometimes I also get confused that it's part of the NEOM project. But Qiddiya city is an entertainment hub that they're building for sports, entertainment, movie theaters, gaming, blah, blah, blah. Everything, entertainment and fun is going to happen in Qiddiya city. So they're building that. But they need money from oil to build all of that. And they need a good price for oil. So yeah, they're facing a lot of problems with the project. We were discussing before the show that Burj Khalifa, one of the biggest building, the biggest building in the world, also faced a lot of monetary problems. The construction was not stopped, but it slowed down. Then Abu Dhabi came in to help.
Of course.
It was supposed to be called Burj something, Burj Dubai.
And to build such the tallest building in the world. I remember there was a case of a lot of the construction workers dying.
Yeah, that happens. That happens with every project. It's not. Yeah, that's one point that I always find on the Western media. I remember. I read a story. Oh, actually, I remember. There's a startup in Saudi Arabia. The owner of the startup, he's Pakistani. He posted on LinkedIn. It's a very nice view into the Western point of view. Yeah, so somehow rhymes. So he said there's a website. I don't want to name them, but it's a very big tech website. And they wrote a piece on some big US firm investing in a Saudi startup. And the article started like, even though Saudi Arabia's human rights records, blah, blah, blah. Now, for example, you're a tech reporter, you go and write the introduction of a story. You will never start with someone's human rights record. You will start with, oh, this US firm, which has some billions or trillions in assets under management, is finally going to Saudi Arabia to invest in a startup. That's the basic opening. That's like the most journalistic, neutral opening that you can have. But that particular article started by, oh, even though Saudi Arabia's human rights record. So Western portrayal of this whole region, to be honest, to be very fair, it's always so much negative. Again, I remember.
But I think that's changing, you know.
Yeah, you talk about deaths.
I think as
US,
a whole,
every building,
changing.
big building in US, you pick it up, you'll see hundreds and nearly sometimes thousands of deaths. It's a natural hazard when building stuff. It's not like it only happens in the Middle East. I remember the Qatar World Cup. They built nearly 9 or 10 stadiums every day. Not the small players. AFP, Reuters, AP. I was like a full-time proper newspaper journalist, so I would read everything there. And every time I read a headline, it started, or every day I would see a news, oh, 2 people died today in the project, 3 people died in the project. I was like, why aren't you talking about the sustainable stadium that they've built, which will itself collapse on itself once the matches are done, and there will be zero waste from that stadium? Why aren't you talking about the Qatar hospitality that is there? Why aren't we talking about that it's the first time
they're always
Middle
trying to
Eastern...
catch them on a pitfall.
Why would you report about deaths only every day? And I love the move from FIFA president Sepp Blatter, the other guy, sorry, I always think of Sepp Blatter as the FIFA president. He came in and he was like, this is the best environment ever that we can have a World Cup in. One, there is safety for everyone, not only men. Women felt safe. You go to TikTok, you write about Qatar World Cup, you'll see like thousands of videos of women roaming around on the streets in the night after matches.
And I remember when the World Cup was coming up, there was so much news coverage on the fact that alcohol was banned.
Yeah.
That was the major headline. But you know, Majid, I feel that perception, it's slowly changing. And the reason why I'm saying this is we see it specifically in the entertainment sector. Like, I remember growing up, Majid, I won't lie to you, like American shows, they were the most famous shows, like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon. Like, if you watched those shows, you are a part of the cool circle. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was for everybody. They were the coolest shows. But now what we're seeing is, especially with the amazing work that Netflix Middle East is doing right now, you know, they have shows like Love is Blind, Habibi, Dubai Bling. And these shows, by the way, it's because of the fact that now we're seeing the narrative that is being pushed is that, you know, Dubai is amazing, Dubai is expensive, we have the biggest towers, we have the biggest malls. People, that's where how do I explain this? That's kind of where the superiority has moved. It's like if you watched Dubai shows, you know, you've become cool. And I see this like all over like media, like people, by the way, I don't watch those shows, I'll admit it to you. They're just not for me. But what I'm seeing is like on my feed, a lot of Westerners are like tuning in for Dubai Bling. They just want to, it's like, it's crazy, but they don't just want to get a taste of like the viral Dubai chocolate. They want to get a taste of everything in Dubai. Quite literally everything. Like how is dating like in Dubai? You know, what's their entertainment like? What do they do? Like it's become this you know, Dubai has become this gem for people all over the world. Like they want to, I really do believe the perception has changed, and especially for Dubai.
I'll tell you the story of a guy I met. He's traveled all the countries in the world. So when I met him, Drew Binsky, you can Google him. He's one of the few people in the world who've been to every country in the world. Nas Daily tried to come to Pakistan, but he has an Israeli passport, so he couldn't come to Pakistan. So he couldn't complete the list of countries he's visited. Drew Binsky is the only person that I know out of like millions of influencers who's been to every country in the world. He came to Pakistan. I remember asking him like about his perception of Asia and like Pakistan, and what was he thinking before coming to the country. It was like everyone was telling me, I got like 1 million messages on my Insta and Facebook that don't go to Pakistan. It was mostly Indians. Oh, you'll die, this will happen, that will happen. Sorry. So I know the idea that how people in the West, they've been fed so much hatred or negativity or something wrong about your country or about your region. And that same feeling I get for Middle East. The Western propaganda against Middle East, like, oh, every time you report about something, you have to mention the human rights record. Every time you report about something, you have to tell, oh, they behead people, they do this, they do that. Everything is there in your countries as well. You should first take a look at yourself. You have slavery in your past. You never talk about it. They're known for colonialism. No one talks about it. You'll never see...
I think we do talk about it a lot.
We do. But they don't. They don't portray their problems. The Native Americans, we've seen what has happened to them in the American history. Black Lives Matter movement, that's a very big example. Police brutality in the US. All these things are happening. But you never see a story that, oh, US is biggest, the world's biggest firm, BlackRock, is investing in this startup or in this, or is making a move here. But we want to talk about the US human rights.
You know,
that never happens. But with Middle East, they always have to link it.
I remember, Majid, when currently we all know what's going on with Lebanon and how it's under threat by Israel. And I remember when it was, it's still at its peak. The only thing that people were discussing was the hurricane in America, in Florida, I believe. That was, you know, that was the major news. It was completely overlooking what Israel is doing to Lebanon. That's completely what they were focusing on.
It happens. I just want one thing. Even when I talk to a lot of people in the West, like when I was part of the journalist community in Pakistan, we had a chat with a lot of people. We would talk to them. We would say, why do you have to always mention Middle East's human rights record, or Pakistan's this, or India's that, the poverty in India? Why do you always have to like put a stigma to the story? And they were like, we want to do it. We want to write the actual truth. We want to come to these countries, want to experience everything and then write. But they're like, it's the upper management or the like top people who don't want us because they set the agenda, and then the people under them, obviously they have to follow the agenda. They have to like toe the line which has been set to them by politicians or bureaucrats or whoever is getting like some profit or something, coming back to economy, some profit from all of this. So Pakistan in the negative light, Middle East in the negative light, India, any country in the negative light, it does profit someone. And those people set the agendas through these news media. That is why one of the reasons we recently discussed legacy media and the new media. Legacy media is going back because the newer generation, your generation, they're very good at catching BS, to be honest. They look at the news and they're like, why? So they go to now different sources. They go to TikTok, they go to first person accounts. There's a lot of people on Instagram, they got shadow banned or like completely banned when they started talking about Gaza, when October 7 last year started happening. They started putting out the real history of what, it's not October 7, it's like 50 or 60 plus years of whatever is happening in the region. They got shadow banned, and I remember correctly that people loved them. People loved their content because that guy was sitting in Palestine, in Gaza, or in some city, and he knew the ground reality. He grew up in that. So people trusted him more than BBC, CNN, whatever the big name you take. They trusted more them. So your generation and the new media, it's a very good mix where they want to go to the person who is affected directly by something and ask him what is the reality.
Look,
so that's the good part.
See, I see what you are saying about, you know, the Gen Z, Generation Z, but I don't completely always agree with their approach. Well, I do think it's really great to be woke.
Yeah.
Not always, because there's almost this like homogenized thinking where everybody just thinks the same thing. And if they completely focus on one topic, they will completely cancel whatever individual is involved with it. And that's so horrible.
I'm not talking about the woke culture. I know woke culture is a whole different debate in your generation. But the idea that they want to go to this direct source now, and due to social media, due to everyone being on Instagram, TikTok, they actually have access to those people. In my time, sorry, when I was growing up, I only had like 2 or 3 news channels. So I would trust whatever they would say. If they said 10 people died in a bomb blast, I'll be like, okay, it's 10. Anyone who was there at the bomb blast site would come to me and tell me, no, I saw 12 dead bodies. I would say, no, you're lying. This news channel said 10, so they have good sources. They talk to the police.
I do take everything with a grain of salt, by the way.
They talk to the hospital authorities. They know better. Now it's completely changed. The news agencies we go to social media and we try to find people who are like opinion leaders in their community, and they post on their LinkedIn, they post on their X, Instagram, they post there, and we take opinions from them. So it's quite changed, and that's the good part, that now people who are on the ground in that reality which is being reported, they tell the news directly on their social media, and people take it and understand it like, okay, we trust this guy. Obviously, they build their repertoire over time. It's not just like one day I start going on Instagram and start talking about Dubai. I will do good content. I'll report something, good things, and then eventually I'll get followers, and then more followers lead to more followers. So it's part of building your repertoire. It's part of building your personality on social media, that, oh, I am in Dubai. For example, you start on Instagram today, and you start talking about the job market here. People will trust you because you are here, you're working here, you're studying here, you've lived here. So that's the main thing, that Western media needs to calm down. But there's always a bias
though with that. Like, for example, me, right? I have grown up here my entire life, but I would not say that my experience is like expats who are you know, just very recently coming to live in Dubai. They're going to have a completely different experience than me.
But see, you have like 20 years of experience of Dubai, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk to them, you will give them a very deep insight in how life is, how expensive this stuff is. To be honest, life itself is an experience, I believe. So if you tell someone, oh, when I was young, like 4 or 5 years old, I used to buy this thing for 1 dirham, and now it's 3 dirhams. So I think this, like Karak, for example,
the McDonald's
one
ice
fill or
cream.
two will.
I feel like the McDonald's ice cream, it's not 1 dirhams anymore, it's 2 dirhams. But you know, Majid, with growing up in Dubai, I feel that, which it's a true perspective that, you know, Dubai is amazing, Dubai is expensive, Dubai has the tallest buildings. That narrative, it is completely true. But I feel that growing up here and just being here my entire life, my family being here their entire lives, Dubai is so much more than that. It has so much more soul than that. And I don't believe, and by the way, I do not think that the UAE is that expensive in comparison to other countries.
Yeah, in comparison to what you buy.
Especially with the fact that there's no tax.
Yeah, income tax is not there. Half of your salaries in Western countries go towards tax, so a lot of people are moving away. Let's come back to business.
Our second topic
Sorry
today.
for the rant about the Western media, but to be honest, it's something that we see every day, we read every day. We read like 10, 20, 30 news stories every day, and they're, to be honest, it's exhausting how biased they are, not only for Middle East in terms of other things. Yeah, it had to come out somehow, but it came out in the story that NEOM is on time. NEOM, they've opened Sindala. It shows that 20%, one part of their 5-part project is complete. It will happen. Leadership changes. It's not like Steve Jobs was always there at Apple. He was fired. He came back after 20 years. Apple is what you see Apple is today because of him. But he was also not there. So leadership will keep changing. Everything will keep changing. The idea of NEOM, it's, to be honest, unrealistic, never heard of. So when it completes, it will actually be, I don't want to say a slap on the people of naysayers, but it will be a great thing.
For sure. And
so believing in unrealistic ideas, even the Western media, you guys have built a lot of stuff which was deemed impossible. You guys built this fair. Now it's coming to Abu Dhabi, the second fair in the world. They could have chosen like 180 plus countries or millions of, like thousands of cities. They chose Abu Dhabi for a reason. It's not only Abu Dhabi, it's the region. So NEOM will take place. You just have to believe in it.
And this leadership itself, this change in leadership itself, it's truly a benchmark for the fact that they're moving this away from just a visionary plan. Like, I believe that this leadership means that they are trying to make it a grounded reality. They really are.
And also, it's a good sign that they're not relying on one person to do it or two person. It's a vision. Whoever carries it forward perfectly, nicely, that's the best person for the job. It's not a personality-driven project. Obviously, Mohammed bin Salman, His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince right now, he is the main head. He's the main figurehead. He's the embodiment of the Saudi Vision 2030 right now. But apart from that, it's a nice move to show people that they're replaceable if they don't do the work, if they don't put in the hours which are needed to make this a reality. It's never seen anywhere in the world. So when it becomes a reality, those people will get benefit, and they're already reaping benefits.
Yeah.
To be honest, whenever I talk to a headhunter or people who are hiring for NEOM, the salaries are exorbitant. They're like insane. Obviously, the working conditions, sometimes you have to work in a desert where they're starting to build something. That is why they're paying you good, handsome salaries. So they're not like leaving any stone unturned. They're trying to do their best.
For sure.
Just one, that stop writing that, oh, this happened, so this will not, a person left, so NEOM is failing. NEOM will take place.
But the Middle East, they don't just do their best.
Yeah.
They do the very best. They do the very best.
Yeah.
And our second topic, oh wow, this one, it's crazy. In Dubai, we are going to get flying taxis. Yes, the project has been green-lighted for 2026, and His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum has approved the construction itself, and it's going to be near Dubai International Airport. It's scheduled to open around Q1 in 2026, and it's basically going to accommodate 42,000 landings annually, serving an estimated 170,000 riders each year. This is completely revolutionary. This is amazing. Like Majid, I will never forget the feeling of when the metro first came in 2009. I'll never forget the excitement of like my mom coming to me and saying like, we have a metro now. We have and you know what's funny, Majid? My mom went on the metro once. Oh. When it first opened, she was like, I need to go, I need to experience this. And this is like that same excitement around that time. I'm feeling it again. Flying taxis, That's insane. Isn't that so insane?
Yeah, it's
Flying
going to be
taxis.
expensive to, sorry for bursting like the excitement, but obviously with time when they have more taxis flying and they have more vertiports. So the main idea is that His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, he green lighted the first vertiport. Vertiport is like an airport, but it's a play of words, vertical airport. So vertiport has been green lighted, it will open. So obviously you need a landing place for the air taxis. The air taxis, the technology, it's there. They've exhibited one of the air taxis in London in front of a railway station. Sorry, don't remember the name exactly of the location of the train station in London, but they showed it there. A lot of people were there just looking at it, surprised that, oh, there is an air taxi. Dubai will also become first country in the world. Again, going back to the last rant and discussion that we had, it's the first city, and UAE is the first country to have a formal air flying like commercial setup of taxis. Yeah, so the world should move away from saying negative things about the Middle East region.
And you know, Majid,
they're doing everything in the most exceptional way possible.
For sure, and I find this so inspiring in itself because in high school I was a history student, Majid, and I studied World War I, and you know I saw how it led to the development of aircrafts. And just seeing such an amazing revolutionary turn like this, flying taxis. And I know that Majid said that it was expensive, but actually new statistics have come out that by the end of 2024, there is an influx of 6,700 millionaires who are coming to the UAE. Perhaps everyone, maybe everyone can't afford it, but certain people will certainly enjoy this. And I think there's something motivating, by the way, about this. Like I noticed that whenever in the UAE there's like a new hotspot, there's something new to try out,
the whole world comes there.
Not just the whole world, but I feel that it almost motivates the masses to just want to go there, to want to work harder to go there. So I'm really impressed by this.
So some technical details. It's scheduled to open in Q1 2026. The vertiport will cover 3,100 square meters, featuring zones for takeoff, landing aircraft, charging, etc., etc. So 42,000 landings were told you, and it will cater to 170,000 riders. The idea I was looking. So the first phase of these air taxis, the aerial taxi service will link 4 strategic locations. So you can take an air taxi from Dubai International Airport and downtown Dubai, Dubai Marina and Palm Jumeirah. Obviously, most of these areas, to be honest, have been selected because of the people who are there and they can afford it. Palm Jumeirah is very expensive. The houses, rents, everything is expensive. It's a luxury place. Dubai Marina, again, is an expensive luxury place. So right now, they started with, to be honest, with the people who can actually afford it. But obviously, sooner or later, it will expand. Like Dubai Metro example, there was only the red line, then they created an orange line, green line, now a blue line is in development for the international city and all these areas. Eventually there will be more other colors of lines for Dubai Metro. But yeah, first phase, you can take a taxi from Dubai International Airport, go to downtown Dubai Marina and Palm Jumeirah. And the only good part was Dubai Airport. So maybe if you're going somewhere, you can take a taxi and just go there. So it'll save you a lot of time moving from there.
By the way, I also think that this project, it will be especially helpful for, you know, the medical sector. Because sometimes there are there are very specific cases where people require transport. So I just think all the better. I think this is gonna improve everything. And finally, for our last topic today, we are going to be discussing Qatar and how Audi's F1 team is on track to receive a major investment from the Sovereign Wealth Fund from Qatar. Can you tell us more about that, Majid?
So the idea is very simple. They're trying to add an Audi team in F1. They already have Mercedes, Red Bull. There's a whole roster of teams that participate in the 24 race calendar, but Audi is trying to get in, and they've gotten approvals, preliminary approvals, and most probably they'll make their debut by 2026 or by next year. Now the problem is launching a Formula 1 team is not cheap. It's a lot of headache in terms of money. So according to details, Audi wanted to buy the Sauber F1 team. They're already there. fully. They wanted to buy it, but the Volkswagen Group, which is like the parent company of Audi, they're going through an economic challenge, and the salaries were delayed. There were a lot of reports about a lot of things happening in the Volkswagen Group. So yeah, they're facing a lot of money crunch. That's the main idea, and that is where Qatar Investment Authority, which is the biggest and the only sovereign wealth fund of the Qatar government, they step in, and they already own 17% stake in Volkswagen Group. So that's the good part. And now they want to invest in the F1 project as well. To give you some perspective about what Qatar actually is doing in F1 already, Qatar hosts the Qatar Grand Prix that we all know. It's like the second last race of the season. It's happening soon at the Lusail International Circuit. Also, the Qatar Sovereign Wealth Fund, yeah, it has 17% stake in the Volkswagen Group, and they have potential influence over future decisions related to Audi and Porsche's involvement. So Porsche is also trying to come into F1. All the big brand names, which are only known for their cars, they're trying to get into F1. So Audi, we're talking about it already. Audi, I don't know how to pronounce it. Everyone has a problem with you say Audi. People will be like, no, it's Audi, and you say Audi, and they'll be like, no, it's Audi. So yeah, you know the brand, the circles. So yeah, so they're trying to get more into it. Qatar, I remember Qatar Airways already sponsors F1, the whole thing as well. So yeah, they already have a lot of investment into the project, and now they're trying to buy into the Audi F1 project. The racing team that they want to launch. The most important thing that I read through all of it was that if somehow they buy a major share in it, because they are short on money, Volkswagen Group and Audi are short on money. So if they buy 51% or 52% stake, we may see them changing the name of the team. It may become maybe QIA Audi or Qatar Audi. So they will get naming rights with it as well. So that's the most interesting part. Maybe if the deal goes through, if it's finalized, we'll see a Qatar named F1 team soon.
Hopefully, hopefully. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Smashi Business Show, a Smashi Business production under the Augustus Media Podcast Network. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Don't forget, at 10 a.m. And don't forget to also follow our newsletter, follow us on Instagram, X, and LinkedIn, and YouTube Shorts.